You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We haven't had a new caller in a while, so go ahead and call in, will you? Do me a favor. Randy, what's going on?
Hi, Ryan. It's Randy in Minnesota.
Hi.
I know we've talked about this before and speculated about it, but during the NFL owners/coaches meeting, wouldn't you love to have been a fly on the wall when Ben Johnson walked in to the with the rest of the coaches? And I could imagine them just kind of hanging out by the pool with a nice cocktail or something, and said, who ordered the side of extra bitch?
I knew that was
coming. And then
too.
he would have to walk away in shame because no one likes this little dork.
Yeah.
After what he's done and how he's acted towards the other coaches in the league, i.e. Matt, who is a part of that huge tree. I would love to have been a fly on the wall to watch that happen. And then I read that because Jeff Hafley didn't put down Caleb, he said, he did a good job, blah, 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 that now he's just acknowledging the fact that, Caleb's this great quarterback. These people are so deluded. Anyway, that's all I got. Go Pack, go. Bye.
Yeah, I would love to be a part of that, to be able to see that. You do genuinely get that impression. Again, we've talked about it before, and you said that when we started the call, but Matt LaFleur he's at the cool kids table. You know what I mean? He is liked. He's got a lot of friends. He's got a lot of respect. And Ben Johnson is kind of on his own a little bit, I don't even, he even comes from Detroit. You think, what's his name? The Reutered out guy is like best buddies with him as he's going over there to a rival team trying to take down Detroit. As Detroit now, he's got like a bad reputation and everyone says he sucks now because Ben Johnson isn't there and all this stuff. I mean, I'm sure it's cordial, but you think what, they're best buddies? I don't know, man. I don't think he's got a lot of friends. And again, if you can back it up and you're cool with it, then that's fine. But at the end of the day, this is somewhat of a relationship business. And if you can't back it up, you're in big trouble. Because eventually you will get fired, and the question then becomes, who's going to hire you? Somebody will bring you in, but you're probably looking at being an offensive coordinator for the rest of your life.
I had no idea why I called you. I just tried to call my son who's visiting his older brother out in California, and I hung up, and I turned around, and then all of a sudden I hear you. Wow, I guess it was meant to be. It's like 10:48 here. I'm just packing up my stuff. So I'll just say this. Go Pack Go, and the person who's going to call out to me is Rick. This is like the coolest thing in the world now, thinking who's going to call out to you. Uncle Rico. All right, Uncle Rico. Last chance for glory. Peace out, Go Pack Go.
As a reminder, assuming he remembers and everything and he's cool about it, at least one, we'll see, at least one Our Lads NFL draft guide is up for grabs to the first person that gets this right. Is Nico that first person?
Hi, Ryan. It's Randy in Minnesota.
Wah, wah.
Not much to say today. I just want to wish everyone a happy Easter and let y'all know that I really appreciate all your phone calls. I look forward to them every day. So, and Ryan, I hope you and your family have a great Easter. And that's basically all I got. Thank you for everyone who calls into the show. I really enjoy it. Go Pack, go. Bye.
Well, thank you, Randy. And yeah, we had a real good Easter. I got to smoke a ham, which is something I've been wanting to do for a little while anyways. I miss it. It's underrated. You know, ham is not super expensive. You buy a big honking spiral ham, you smoke it. It's already cooked, so you can't really mess it up. You're just heating it up, and you just bring that bad boy up to temp. If you get it from like Walmart or wherever, it usually comes with a little bag of whatever. I was going to get the salted caramel because that's like all the rage and everything salted caramel is good. But my wife went and bought it, and it was the normal brown sugar glaze, which is freaking delicious. And it's just the smokiest, sweetiest, deliciousiest ham ever. And so we had that. We had a bunch of other sides. The family came over, brought over some stuff, bunch of dessert, the whole spread, man. It was a good time. So, yeah, appreciate that, and definitely appreciate all the callers, and, you know, thank you. Thank you for the call. Batman, what's going on?
Batman.
What's up, dude?
What's up, brother? All right, a couple random questions. Let's focus on tailgating and bratwurst and barbecue and football.
Yes,
just because I don't
Let's
like
do
it.
that.
But how do you cook the perfect brat? For me, personally, I do like a cast iron with beer, butter, and onions, and I let that simmer for a while, and then I toss them on the grill, and then I serve them. I do sauerkraut. I do Dijon mustard, and that's how I serve them. How do you do your brat? Now, when you do your brisket, do you do the foil boat or do you do the wrap with tallow?
Let's go one at a time here. So the brats, I know that the I'll say correct way to do it is with the soaking it in beer and whatnot. We are an alcohol-free home, so I'm not going out buying beer even for like food and stuff. Just don't really do that. Could get like a alcohol-free or whatever, but it's not necessary. It's the same with like cooking wine or whatever. I just avoid it. Even though I have made food with alcohol-free cooking wine, which does exist, and it was quite good. Anywho, so I just straight up smoke them. That's really it, and then I'll blast it on the heat at the end to get a good little sear on it. But yeah, nothing super special with the soaking and whatnot. Although again, I will usually I'll fight for the way that I do things. I haven't really tried it the other way. Obviously, I've eaten them at certain points in my life. I don't really recall, but one of these days I'll do a side-by-side comparison and see if I'm really missing out or what. But yeah, I throw them on a good old charcoal grill. I don't put any smoking wood on it or anything. Charcoal is all you need. And again, right at the end, just get them good and blistered. I've seen other people who are like, how to not blister your brats. Like, I don't give a dude. Get a good char and some cracks and blisters, and it's freaking delicious. Brisket. Let's see if you're done here.
Hello. Like I do wrap with tallow once it's like at 170.
Yeah.
And I do basically like the 3-2-1. So I do 3 hours of smoking at 160. Crank it up to 225, and I wrap it for 2 hours. And then the last hour I toss it on there, and that usually gives me a nice little smoke ring. But how do you do your brisket? So bratwurst, brisket.
Yep.
How do you smoke that stuff? And I know you do like.
So I've only done maybe like 3 briskets, something like that. It's not many. I definitely need to get back on that. I haven't tried the foil boat. I know that's kind of like the new cool thing that's like how to get the best of all worlds and everything. So I think I'm trying to remember. I know the other like more popular way is to use the butcher paper as opposed to the foil. I think I've done that. I don't fully remember. I also have never gone out and gotten the tallow, which I know is like the thing to do. They got that like Chicago something or another. You can buy it like on Amazon, a big jug of it. I haven't done that either. So it's pretty straightforward. I think it's just, like you said, you cook it up to probably 170-ish or whatever, whenever you get a good dark bark on it. and then wrap it up. I think I've tried probably one of each as far as the foil or the butcher paper. But yeah, just wrap it up and then let it push through till you get to the probably 205-ish. It's more of a temperature thing. What I've started doing, or a texture thing, and this is the same with brisket as it is with pulled pork. So you know how a lot of times what they'll say is you let it hold, or you don't really let it rest, you let it hold. So that's where you put it in like a little container or a cooler and you let it sit. And people will tell you, they'll get crazy about it. They'll be like, let it sit, the longer the better. 2, 3, 4 hours in a freaking cooler, because it'll continue to break down the fibers and get soft. So I don't screw with a cooler. The basic premise is we don't want the heat to continue to go up because it's going to dry out. Right? If you're setting something at 225 or 250 or 275, the heat is going to continue up to that range, and your brisket's going to be 225 and it's going to be too hot, and it's whatever. So what I will do is I'll put it in an oven wrapped or something at like 195 degrees, because I think it needs to be, I think it's like 190, something like that. Is maybe I don't remember the exact temperature, but there's a temperature that will break down the fibers to make it softer. So I will just use that, similar to what you'd have as a cooler, but it just kind of maintains that heat. And so I will leave it in there essentially until it's done, right? It'll go up. If the temperature is at 190, it'll get to 190 and it'll stay there. Or if you bring it to 200 or whatever, it'll stay there. And the point is, you just leave it in there. It's not a temperature thing because it's just going to sit at 200 degrees, but you get your temp probe, and when it starts going in like butter, that's when it's done. So that's pretty much it. I don't, it's not even so much a, what? All right. Sorry about that. I honestly, it has nothing to do with time whatsoever. Set the grill at, I think you can go a little higher with brisket and whatnot, let's say 250. When it gets to the point of having like a really solid bark and it's not taking out any more smoke, then the point of the smoker is useless. It's probably around 170-ish, like you said. Pull it, put it in the oven at a resting temperature, let it sit there until the probe goes through it like butter, then it's done.
You do like pork butts and stuff. I've actually never done a pork butt, even though apparently it's the easiest thing to do. I do ribs, brisket, brats, salmon.
Pork butt is fantastic because it's delicious, it's versatile. Like after the fact, you make tacos, pulled pork sandwiches, barbecue pulled pork by itself, like whatever you want to do with it. And it is easy, just exactly like I said with the brisket, it's the same thing. And it'll come out perfectly fine. And with the pork butt, I will say, it's probably true with brisket as well, but I haven't tried it. A good injection changes everything, because it's very, it's the surface area gets a good seasoning on it, but the interior is just pork, which doesn't have a ton of flavor. But you get a good injection in there, oh baby.
Bunch of different stuff. Never done a pork butt. So how do you do your pork butt? So I can do a pork butt the way you do a pork butt.
Same thing. Again, if you want to, let me look real quick. I'll tell you exactly, because I've used a different injection and I didn't love it a ton. Pork injection, I forget what it's called, but it is Butcher Barbecue pork injection. That's the stuff you want to use. And part of the stuff that's in it, it's scientific type stuff that helps break down the stuff. Let me look at the ingredient list real quick, because I'm sure I'll remember it when I see it. No, I don't remember. It's one of these big words or whatever, but it helps to kind of break it down. And I'll tell you right now, when you mix it, it smells like death. It smells awful. I remember buying it. A competition guy swore up and down, this is the one you have to buy. You mix it in water, and I smelled it, and I'm like, dude, this is going to be awful. It's very good.
And finally, how do you handle cold weather grilling? Because El Paso usually is hot, but lately we've been getting these like kind of just colder temperatures, and it's taking longer to get the grill up. So do you start at 180 for like 2 hours and then increase it to like 225 afterwards? Or what is your cold weather grilling tips? That's it. Peace out, Batman.
Well, I mean, I've done it out in the freezing cold in the dead of winter in Wisconsin. It's really just a question of whatever you're using, you might just have to adjust it more. So, like, for example, the Weber is not super, I mean, it's decently insulated, but the metal is kind of thin. So, like, when I've got it set up where if I'm smoking and I want it to 225, I know what to do. It's 2 layers of charcoal, it's 12 lit coals, put it on the end and it'll come across. And that way I can leave the vents entirely open. In winter, it might be too cold and it's not going to hit that. It might be stuck at 180 or something, so you'd need more charcoal in it. But ultimately, as long as you can adjust the vents to get it up there, I don't start lower. It's no different. It needs to be the same thing. You just need more fuel. Now, I've also got a big, giant freaking drum outside that is like 1/4-inch thick steel. That thing couldn't give a crap what the temperature is. In fact, we had a super windy day. It's so windy out here all the freaking time, especially with all the rapid changes. Whenever I get a nice day, it's nice, but it's also 50-degree wind gusts. I used my pellet grill, and you're supposed to leave the door open at first to, kind of let the smoke all come out and whatever. And then when it starts to clear and you get the clear smoke, then you close the lid. Well, the wind was whipping so hard, it started a fire. So that was a disaster. Unplugged it, closed the lid. I could see the temperature go up, 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 up. It was like 350 degrees with no I'm like, okay, there's a fire in there. So I let that go. Went over to the drum. It's the Oklahoma Joe, the Bronco. And I was like, this thing doesn't care about wind whatsoever. So I fired that thing up and I don't remember what I made, but I guess the point is if you have something bigger and sturdier, it won't be affected as much. If you don't, just make sure you have a temperature probe that you can put in there so you can monitor the temperature and then just keep jacking it up until it gets up there. So if you have like a pellet grill, they might have a setting. If it's a cheap piece of crap like mine, the setting does not have a feedback loop. So if you set it to 250, it just has an automated, like, this is how fast to get it to 250, as opposed to actually checking the temperature and jacking it up itself. So if you might have to set it to 300 just to get it to 225 or whatever, you know what I mean? But anywho, let's take a break. You're making me hungry. I haven't eaten yet today. You're making me very hungry, and I want to grill everything. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Back again. Let's go with color roulette. I think it's Uncle Rico after me. No, I'm not going to cheat and say I'm calling again. That's why I didn't call, because I can't cheat, man. It's just not my DNA. But I think that's it. Yeah. It's going to be Uncle Rico. All right. Bye.
Well, of course it's Bruce, but we'll see if Uncle Rico is after Bruce.
Batman, third time. Really curious, because I don't feel like looking it up, to be honest with you, but we went 3-4, 4-3, 3-4, and how did our rush defense go from previous regime terrible to Halfley switching the scheme, and now we're switching back again? And will that give us any telltale signs as to what we should expect in terms of drafting wise, whether it's defensive end, whether it's like a nose tackle, which we all kind of are hoping? But what do you think? I mean, how does that play into what we're doing? Because the scheme is obviously really important, and I know you don't really like talking scheme, but at the same time we should. How does that differentiate from a 4-3 to 3-4 with the Packers in terms of kind of the switch back and forth and how defenses have done in those different schemes for the Packers and our drafting philosophy? All right, bud. Now I'm done. Batman out. Bye.
Well, I know there is a general thought that 4-3 is just better against the run. That was the excitement about getting Halfley in the building, because finally we're a 4-3, which means finally we can be a team that actually can stop the run. That is very obviously a misconception. That's not the way that works. there was initially a very big jump for the Packers to be the 7th best run defense in 2024, which is awesome. That's great. That's very unusual for the Packers, but we did drop back to 19th this past year. I did this before where I went and looked at it, and you look at the top teams, and some of them are 4-3, and some of them are 3-4. It's really just a matter of how good you are at the thing you're doing. Now, with that said, I will say, if you go back and look, again, just using DVOA against the run, the defense, even with Gannon having elite defenses, they never were very good against the run. That doesn't mean we can't be good against the run. But I think it is interesting if you look at Gannon at his best, which would have been probably, 2022, I would assume. I think that was the record-breaking year in Philadelphia. They ranked 19th, which, again, is what we were this past year. But that was like peak Philadelphia Eagles. And I think that was between the 2 years in Philly and the 3 years at Arizona. I want to say that was probably the best run defense he had as a defensive coordinator. So, if you wanted to look at Gannon and say, what is it that makes him a great defensive coordinator, you list off a bunch of things that you should absolutely get excited about. His ability to stop the run, probably not at the top of the list. So, again, that doesn't mean that we won't be good against the run. We have, different players with different defensive philosophies, and we'll see what happens as far as getting, he's got Edger and Cooper, which is great. We might, I was going to do the regular podcast, and I realized it's getting late. I probably should do After Dark here real quick. But, I was looking at some of the linebackers, and some of those guys are really exciting. Now, I don't know how early we want to go linebacker, but you definitely could make the case for some of those guys coming in and making a difference. And so if you do end up getting a pretty solid, stout, run-defending defensive tackle, right, you got Javon Hargrave, who's a solid football player. And then you got Edger and Cooper and potentially another guy that we draft that could end up being a solid player. I'm just saying it's entirely possible. With that said, the focus is going to be on getting after the quarterback on when we're passing. And I think as long as he is as delivered on those things or as whatever the phrase is as long as he is as what the heck is the thing? As promised, I guess. That's not the thing, but whatever. Maybe it is. I don't know. Then I think I'll be okay with it. Again, nobody looks back at that 2022 Philadelphia Eagles team that broke records for sacks, and it was like, yeah, but they were mediocre against the run. So, I don't know. We shall see. All right, next up. Is Bruce correct? Is it Uncle Rico?
Yo, Brian, it's your Uncle Rico.
Ding, ding, ding. I should dock you for calling back, but I won't. So, Brucey, I might already have your email, but just text me an email. I will send that off, and we will get you an Our Lads draft guide for free for nailing that. Uncle Rico, what you got going on?
Listening to the pod, and you're bashing over the whole Joe Thomas thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very confusing. Odd. I'd like to respect Joe because I'm thinking, good player, smart guy, respect should be warranted. But what the hell is he talking about? Is it just he just wants to fire all the offensive coaches and just put Jordan Love in charge of the whole team, the whole offense, make up the plays, call the plays. Is he on crack? He's on the mushrooms or something, man. Something ain't right. All right, Jen. Confused. Go out.
Yeah, suffice it to say that it wasn't my absolute favorite breakdown or analysis of anything. I was not a big fan of that. I don't want to keep hammering the guy or anything because, again, respect and all that stuff. But again, this is why on social media when people want to talk about, well, he played, I think he would know. I don't play that game. That's not it's not a game that I will acknowledge or respect in any real way. Uncle Rico Part 2.
Yo, Ryan, it's your Uncle Rico. Yeah, I mean, I'm having trouble putting my thoughts together here about this. It's just not making any sense what Joe Thomas is saying should be happening. He comes off as like LaFleur tells Love to go out on third down and not make plays. Get out there and not make it happen. You know, don't complete a pass. Be inaccurate. Don't find the open receiver. What the hell is he? What's he talking about? Is he not? Yeah, it's really bugging me. And then he assumes that Jordan Love is like some kind of super offensive wizard. He's got like this brain the size of Kentucky, and he can just think of the right thing to do, and Matt LaFleur cannot think of the right thing to do, and that all the other players that Jordan Love is playing with are automatically also going to know the right thing to do, because when Jordan Love, thinks of the right thing to do, then bam, all the other players will know exactly what to do as well. What the hoochie macooch is he talking about? Rico out.
Yeah, and again, I think that comes from players having played a long time. They get to the point where they feel like, they do know more than what the coach is saying. They hear some stupid stuff from coaches once in a while. It's like, I could, you get that sort of like, I could do a better job than you kind of a deal. And I tend to disagree. I know that there are dumb coaches, and I get that there are times that they do things wrong. I also know that if Joe Thomas was asked to be a head coach, I think he would be a failure at it. Even if he can do a couple things, probably better, maybe he could lead better or something. It doesn't ultimately matter to me. I think there's a lack of respect for all the things that coaches have to do, and the fact that what they do is very difficult, and a player can't just walk in and do it and be good at it. I think that there absolutely are people that are the best in the world at certain things, and brilliant offensive minds, as in guys that are of the very few in the world that can do X, Y, and Z, should be in charge of doing those things. And no, we shouldn't just delegate those things to quarterbacks because we need to just cut them loose and let them do it. Again, I don't think it's very well thought out. I think it's mostly just saying stuff. But I don't think it's smart stuff. I think it's kind of absurd stuff. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Yo, this is Uncle Rico calling.
Howdy.
Dude, I figured it out. We need to unleash all the players. All of them, like you were saying. But especially the kicker. We need to unleash him. McManus, so he can. He needs to go in to LaFleur's office and set him straight that he is the one capable of scoring the points at any given time. And we need to unleash him, and he should be able to go up to the coach and say, "Yeah, coach, right now it's time. Put me in there. I'm going to kick it." Well, dude, it's first down. I know it's first down, but I can make it from here, and we'll get 3 points. Let's do it. Unleash me, man. Unleash me. I got this.
Yep.
Well, dude, we're 70 yards out. I know we're 70 yards out, and I know it's first down, but I can do it. I can do it from here. I'm going to make this kick, and we're going to put 3 points on the board. Unleash me, man. Let's do it. Rico out.
Well, I mean, obviously you're being sarcastic, but that is a fair question to ask. If somebody isn't at their full potential, is it safe to say that they're just being held back, that they need to be unleashed? And then again, what does that mean? Do we just empower them to do whatever they want? And then they're just going to be better at that thing? I don't exactly know what the process is here.
Yo, this is Uncle Rico calling.
Pushing wrong buttons. Like if I wanted to know the process, and let's just say I don't need Joe Thomas to explain it to me, how would I know when somebody should be unleashed? Is there a process, or is it just kind of a gut feeling thing where it's like, I just feel like he could be better. I feel like he threw a screen pass and that's annoying, and he should be unleashed. You know what I mean? Like, it feels very shallow and dumb.
Hey, Pack Daddy, it's Garrett from Southern Illinois.
Yo.
With the news of Dexter Lawrence requesting trade, whether it's just a contract ploy or he is really wanting out of New York, I know that there's always a little chance of maybe making a trade for someone like that. So I'm going to throw a hypothetical out to you. What if Goody acquires him with the future pick and trades someone like Dontavian Wicks? Would that signal to you then a possible second round or even maybe third round pick for another wide receiver? Because there's a lot of good sized Green Bay Packer type wide receivers in this draft. And players like Boston, who is from Washington, Lance, North Dakota State, even maybe Surratt from Indiana. I think there's some guys there that may fit that X, that maybe not as fast as Watson, but at least mimics that style and speed and size. So I'm just curious, if you knew that he was going to take a second or a third round pick as a wide receiver, who is right now your favorite pick for a Green Bay Packer future wide receiver? I'm out.
All right, second or third round. Let me get out of linebacker here and go look at wide receiver. So one thing that I would kind of clarify, at least as far as my thinking on it, is that I wouldn't think of a Watson type of a guy as an X. I think Watson is a Z. He is a big, tall, long, fast guy that's going to stretch the field. So when you mention a guy like Bryce Lance, I would put him in that category, not necessarily the X category. We got what? We got Chris Brazell, Chris Bell. That's funny that they're next to each other. Jeremy Bernard, Zachariah Branch, Malachi Fields, Antonio Williams, Ted Hurst, Elijah Surratt. I mean, there's so many guys here. Because our next pick is 120. So yeah, there's a solid bunch, and we kind of already did this. I did the wide receiver thing already, but if you're just asking me to pick one, then I'll have to kind of get back to you a little bit on my own personal feelings, because I haven't. I'm just starting. Like I'm watching linebacker today, and so I don't have a like a my guy as far as wide receiver. Chris Bell is intriguing. When I was looking at linebacker, I took a look back at Edger and Cooper again, and Cooper was one of those guys where, he was kind of like, he didn't start I think his final 2 years he was a starter, but it was 4 years, and in the first 3 years he graded out in like the 60s. Then in year 4 was his big massive breakout year, and that's always kind of scary. I mean, if you just trust that year implicitly, he was like the best linebacker in the country. He's a freak. Like his overall grade, his run defense grade, his pass rush grade, his coverage grade, all that was like high 70s, 80s. Here, you've got something very similar. Didn't really start year 1, kind of year 2. Year 3 was more so of a starting year, but 60s across the board. Then 2025, 82 grade, 83 receiving, 84 drop grade, because his drops were down to 4%. It went from 22% to 12% to 8% to 4%. 6'2", 220 pounds, just an absolute frickin' beefcake. That's going to be a second-round pick, but that's what you asked, second or third. Certainly an intriguing guy. If you're looking third round, you got Malachi Fields at 6'4", 222, just 22 years old, another relatively young guy. 4 years at Virginia, 1 at Notre Dame. Ted Hurst is a name that's come up quite a bit. Smaller school, but the Packers aren't scared of that. Christian Watson, even Devontae Adams. These are not necessarily massive programs, and they've never really been afraid of doing that. This is Georgia State. 6'3", 195. So not as big as some of these guys as far as weight, but very long. Straight up trajectory. 55 grades, 73, 74, and then 82 were his grades in the 3 years. Just 21 years old. Elijah Surratt, 6'2", 213. Elite grades across the board, 81, 90, 82, and 87. He went from St. Francis to James Madison to Indiana, never really skipped a beat. Skylar Bell's a little older. He's going to be 24 years old, but 3 years at Wisconsin, 2 at UConn. Again, a big breakout in his final year. 102 receptions, 72 receiving rate, almost 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns, 85 grade. Not my favorite, but, definitely a really good final year. Bryce Lance, who you mentioned, again, that's just kind of my thought on where he would go. I could be completely wrong about that, but I mean, there's no question the Packers could or would be interested in a guy like that because they already picked at a very high level a guy who was very similar from the exact same school. Smaller school, but dominant, 87 grade and then a 90 receiving grade, over 1,000 yards both years he started, 14.3 yards per reception, and then 21.2 yards per reception. Touchdowns went down from 17 to 8, but that's still a lot in both cases. And remember, this is a very run-heavy offense. So, maybe I would go like Chris Bell in the second, and I don't know. Again, I will watch these guys. Let me defer to Cullen. How about that? Let me look at Cullen's grades here. Yeah, so Chris Bell is his second favorite receiver, so that's definitely our second-round guy. He gave him a 90 grade. He says, very slippery, great route running, but amazing addition for the Packers. But again, this is only what I think. He's like his dad. But what do I know? Third round, boy. Looks like Elijah Surratt probably would be the guy. He gave him an 86 grade, 6'3", 210, 4.45, 40, which is all fantastic. Pretty fast route running, comes back to the ball. Pretty good addition for the Packers, I think. We're going to have to clean up some of the... He's doing voice to text, I think, and it's just kind of nonsense, garbledy-goop. We'll have to fix that. So there you go. Chris Bell as a second-round pick, Elijah Surratt as a third-round pick.
Question number 2. Is there still some possible free agents out there that are cap casualties or cuts that may fit what Green Bay is looking for, that they can sign without losing a compensatory pick? I'm just wondering, is there a tight end out there still that could possibly fit what they need so that they're not having to search through the draft? And my suggestion, I think maybe as a potential person, is the tight end from Pittsburgh. Now the name escapes me. I know you probably know who I'm thinking of. It's a weird name. Gosh, sorry, Ryan. Totally just blanked. But you know who I'm talking about. Is there potential someone out there that they could sign? And before I forget, caller roulette, I am going to pick
you got a rough one.
Nico. I'm out.
You kind of got screwed on that one. We got a tricky one coming in next. Look, the reason I hate doing free agency stuff is because when you ask the question of is somebody available, there are like hundreds of guys available. It's so difficult to kind of pinpoint anything because there's so many guys. I mean, I'm scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. It's a never-ending list of people that are available out there. So if we go specifically to tight end, David Njoku, Jonnu Smith, Taysom Hill, Zach Ertz, Will Dissly, Darren Waller, John Fitzpatrick, Nick Vannett, Pharaoh Brown, Mercedes Lewis, Robert Tonyan, Harrison Bryant. Go ahead.
Package delivered.
Anthony Fursker, Josiah DeGuara, Donald Parham, Shane Zylstra, Tyree Jackson, Travis Vokalek, Tucker Fisk, and Mason Pline. Now you can go through and whittle that down. You can, say, well, let's see, Mercedes is 41. Taysom Hill is 36. If you're looking for somebody that's a little bit, younger, Njoku's going to be 30. He's not quite 30. Parham and Jonnu Smith are two guys from Pittsburgh. I don't know if that's who you meant or if you're talking about somebody like Freiermuth or something. I don't know what happened to him. Yeah, he's a current. He's not a free agent. Are there options? Yeah, I mean, there's a million. Do any of them fit? I don't know, man. I think if you do process of elimination, you're probably left with very, very few people. Especially if you're looking specifically for that kind of a role. I mean, Zach Ertz could fill that role if it was, 6 years ago. Darren Waller, same thing. I don't know if he even wants to play football anymore. I don't know his status. I know he went to Miami and I think kind of did okay. But again, you're talking about 34. I mean, he's not really in his prime. And he's had a whole bunch of off-the-field stuff that he's been working through. I mean, Tonyan is still there. He should go to Pittsburgh with Rodgers or something. Again, like you could talk about Jonnu Smith and stuff about maybe, but I don't know that there's going to be really any good options. But I think that there's plenty of speculating that anybody could do in terms of, maybe let's give it a shot. Let's see if they still got a little bit of juice in or prior ties to LaFleur or maybe in this scheme or whatever the case. To try to rationalize that maybe, but, at the end of the day, the entire list is almost 30 years old. I mean, like everybody. If you're looking at sub-29, you got Parham, Tyree Jackson, Harrison Bryant, Travis Vokalek, Tucker Fisk, Mason Pline, and John Fitzpatrick, who's with the Packers most recently. Of those guys, who is actually like a football player? I don't think any of them. The highest any one of those guys got paid was Fitzpatrick at $1.5 million. He was the highest paid this past year. So, I mean, you can, Spot Track or any of these sites, they have lists, and so you can go check it out. You can go look at it, see if anything kind of gets you going. But usually, when I go through and do this stuff, you're just sifting through garbage. At the beginning of free agency, yeah, there's going to be some cool options out there. But at this point in free agency, if somebody's still out there, it's for a very good reason. And, wide receiver, you got Tyreek Hill. Obviously, there's a lot going on there. Stephon Diggs, there's a lot going on there. Deebo Samuel, Curtis Samuel. I mean, there's guys who's, they were big names at one point. DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen. But again, it's a lot of just garbage, and I think any team that's really trying to be serious and not desperate, you're probably not doing that. I mean, we're not desperate for any of these guys, and the odds of them actually elevating are very, very low. I'm okay compared to the options that are available to us in tight end. I'm very okay saying, look, Musgrave, I like Musgrave. Let's give him one more year, one more solid year. And if a guy falls to us in the draft that we like, we'll also draft him and he can come in and compete. But at the end of the day, Musgrave, either way, has one more year to prove he's the guy and deserves a contract. If not, then he's got to go and we'll see what happens. But I don't want to cloud that by going and getting some 32-year-old guy that used to be good at that, and then he ends up taking that job, and so we don't get to see Musgrave, and then we don't draft somebody, or if we do, now it's even more crowded and murky. And for what? To overpay some old guy that isn't very good, but we're going to play him because we paid him? I don't want to do that. So, I mean, that's more or less my thought. If we do, then we'll see what happens. But and in certain situations, I think it could make sense. But I don't know, for tight end, I don't know. It's not something that's desperate. You know, I mean, you'd have to come up with a scenario for something to kind of make sense. Like if you wanted to say, what if we got an edge rusher or something, and you can get him on a cheap 1 year kind of a deal, like, you know, Hassan Reddick is still floating around out there. Obviously, there's direct ties. I mean, his season with Gannon was incredible. There's the whole never have too many pass rushers thing, which, to be fair, this would put us to 3 even when Micah Parsons comes back. But also, he could fit that Micah Parsons role quite well, because in reality, Micah Parsons is filling the Hassan Reddick role in Gannon's defense. You know, something like that I could understand, aside from the part where he's probably looking for a very lucrative long-term deal, which I don't know if the Packers want to do that for a 32-year-old when you just invested in Micah Parsons. But I'm just saying, something like that, I could see that making sense. All right, well, since you did the whole Nico thing, let's see if you got it right.
Hey, Ryan, this is Ben from Minnesota.
What's up?
I'm currently driving through the middle of absolutely nowhere, South Dakota, on my way to work. So I did a little mock draft, and on the NFL mock draft database, or whatever the hell that website's called.
Yeah.
You know how it gives you grades at the end? Well, I got all A pluses. First time that's ever happened. So clearly this is what the Packers should do.
Okay.
I mean, obviously.
Right.
So, second round, Brandon Cease, who I would love. Third round, Keelan Rutledge. And then fourth round, Caleb Proctor. And then just keep going. Trey Zune, Anthony Lucas, Elon Black, and Tyron Montgomery. Because who doesn't want another Ty Montgomery on the Packers? Right? I think that would cover all of our bases for team needs. But I just thought it was pretty cool that I got all A pluses, so I thought I'd share. Another thing I wanted to ask you. My daughter is about to turn 4 years old.
Nice.
And all of the rest of my family is Vikings fans. It's just me and my wife are Packers fans.
Mm-hmm.
And now my 4-year-old daughter keeps saying, the Packers are naughty, and I like the purple team.
Oh.
How do I bend her will to become a Packers fan? Because, I mean, I obviously can't kick a 4-year-old out of the house for being a Vikings fan.
I don't know if it's obvious, but yeah, it's probably shouldn't.
I don't know if you've been through that or not, but let me know. I need a little help here. Talk to you later. Have a good one. The next caller is going to be Chris from Alabama. All right, bye.
You guys are never going to let me finish. I'll just tell you, because we are going to end with your call. It is not Chris from Alabama, so... tomorrow we'll kick this thing off with Nico from Idaho. Well, I'm unfortunately probably the wrong person to ask, because I've had terrible luck with my girls. My son was super easy. Some of his first words were touchdown. That dude was saying touchdown 24/7. He was watching sports all day. He's always been about it. The girls have been very resistant. My oldest daughter, which is our first child, when she was little, she went through a phase of saying she was a Bears fan, specifically just to annoy me. That was the only reason. Like she had a friend, I think her name was Lily, across the way, and she was a Packer fan, but her brother was a Bears fan, so that was her justification for being a Bears. That lasted like 5 seconds, but still, that was kind of the thing. And all my other girls kind of do the same thing. They will tease by saying they like the Bears better, and but occasionally they'll slap on a Packer shirt and they're the Packer girl or whatever. I will tell you what I've said to pretty much everybody else in this regard, and that is the Packers need to be associated with something awesome. Kids love, like, just happy, fun things, obviously. And so when it's Packer time, I think the worst thing you can do, I still remember a good friend of mine from Milwaukee was a Bears fan. And he was a Bears fan specifically, despite growing up in Milwaukee, because he would go to like these family functions and his uncles would be there. And it was always very like, stay away from me. The Packers are on, like be quiet, leave me alone. It was a terrible environment. And so out of spite, he said he hates the Packers and he's a Bears fan. So it can't be one of those like, shh, keep it down. Come on, Packers are on. Get out of the way. I can't see. You start doing that and she's going to hate it. So Packer time is party time. It's, the rules go out the window. We get some good food. You ask her, what do you want? Like, what should we get for the Packer game? What do you want to get? Should we get, get all our favorite treats? We'll go out to, I'm sure you got Quick Trip out there. Go get some Quick Trip donuts and whatever else, some candies we'll spread out. We'll get some chips and dip. And, we'll do like the Packer dance whenever they score a touchdown. It's all just fun stuff and it's goofy and we get to be loud. We're going to crank the TV. All the things we're not supposed to do because we're trying to be good. We're not going to do that. We're going to be crazy. Just association. The only other thing, like I said, with my girls occasionally to make dad happy. Did you see my shirt? Put on the shirt. It's just pride, It's an easy way to make dad happy. Anytime you see him wearing a Packers shirt, acknowledge it, get excited about it. You love it because as they get older, occasionally they'll see that Packers shirt and she'll, just try to make dad happy. Just kind of a dad, look what I'm wearing. Like, oh man, that's awesome. You know what I mean? And then we started getting crazy. It's like, oh, let me get my Packers shirt on. We'll be back. You know what I mean? It's all just that kind of stuff. Just as long as Packers are associated with things that are awesome, as opposed to, being this time when dad is off doing his own thing. And I don't like it because I don't get to watch my cartoons and he's watching stupid Packers and I don't care and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? That's all I got though. I have failed for the most part. The best I can do is, I think my oldest is very quietly kind of a Packer fan, but won't really talk about it. It's just kind of she happens to know the score and she knows that they won, but obviously she wasn't watching or anything like that. And then my two other younger daughters, not a fan. Still like to tease dad about it, but they'll wear the Packer stuff and whatever. I think my ultimate goal is when they get older, they are Packer fans to whatever degree that is. You know what I mean? You marry a guy that's a Packer fan and they're into it. To at least some degree. They don't just hate it. It's a fun thing and they want their kids to be Packer fans and that kind of stuff. That's as my kids are getting older. I'm thinking in those terms now, but that's all I got for you, man. Best of luck because it's so much fun when they love it, and it's friggin' annoying when they don't. So I wish you the best of luck. And by the way, they go through phases, and in 4 years old is a terrible phase for whatever reason. That's the I'm going to be a Vikings fan phase. So I don't know. Best of luck to you. All right, I'm out of here. You all have a good rest of your night. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.